Okay, let's talk about something almost everyone struggles with, the dreaded world of small talk. If you've ever had that moment where your mind just goes completely, totally blank in the middle of a conversation, this is for you.
We all know this feeling, right? That painful, awkward silence where you're just scrambling for anything to say. It feels like a personal failure, but what if I told you it has nothing to do with you? What if the problem is just the strategy you're using?
So, here's our game plan. We're going to start by breaking down exactly why small talk feels so hard, and then I'm going to show you a really simple but powerful new way to think about it.
First up, the awkward silence problem. Here's the thing. Being bad at small talk doesn't mean you're not a charming or witty person. It just means you've been taught to aim for the wrong goal.
And this, right here, is the biggest myth we need to bust. We put all this insane pressure on ourselves to perform, to be fascinating, to have these amazing stories just ready to go. But that is not the point of small talk, at all. In fact, thinking this way is pretty much what guarantees we're going to fail.
So let's really dig into why our default approach, our go-to method, just backfires so spectacularly. It really all comes down to one word: pressure.
Look, here's the core issue. When you ask a generic question like, "How was your day?" or "So, what do you do?" you're basically just handing the other person a microphone and saying, "Okay, go ahead, entertain me." You're forcing them to do all the heavy lifting, which feels less like a conversation and more like an interrogation. So yeah, of course they shut down with a one-word answer. Okay, so if asking questions is the problem, then what's the solution? Well, this is the big turning point. It's what we call the observation shift. The real secret to great small talk isn't in what you ask, it's in what you notice.
Think about it like this. An observation is a gift, but a question is a demand. When you share something you notice, you're not asking them to perform for you. You're just inviting them into a shared moment, which completely flips the dynamic from an interview into a genuine connection. Let's look at a super clear example. How's work? It's like dry toast. It's boring and it puts all the pressure on them. But the observation, you have the look of someone who just survived a Monday morning meeting. Well, that's playful, it's specific, and it immediately creates this little spark of connection and curiosity. You can feel the difference, right?
Now, not all observations are created equal. I mean, nice weather today is technically an observation, but it's a total conversation killer. To make your observations magnetic, we need a simple little formula.
These are the 3 magic ingredients. A really great observation is specific, it has a tiny bit of playful exaggeration, and it hints that there's a bigger story just waiting to be told. Let's break each of these down. First up, specificity. Nice shoes is generic. It's totally forgettable. But those shoes look like they could survive a zombie apocalypse. Now that shows you're actually paying attention. You've noticed a specific quality, and that simple act makes the other person feel seen. Second, a slight exaggeration. Saying "you look tired" can come across as kind of rude, but if you reframe it with a bit of humor, you have the expression of someone who just discovered their coffee was decaf. It adds this fun energy and turns it into a relatable moment instead of a criticism.
And finally, the implied story. Instead of asking, "Hey, what are those stickers for?" the statement, "That laptop has seen some adventures," creates an opening. It invites them to share the story behind the stickers without you having to directly demand it from them.
Okay, so you get the theory. Shift from questions to observations and make those observations magnetic. Now for the tool that makes it incredibly easy to put this into practice, like right now. It's a simple 3-word phrase that does all the heavy lifting for you.
I bet that. That's it. When you start a sentence this way, your brain is automatically kind of forced to look for something specific to finish the thought. It's like a mental shortcut that just bypasses all those boring, generic questions and goes straight to a really interesting observation.
This little phrase is like a conversational multi-tool. It frames your comment as an observation, not a demand. It proves you're paying attention, and it creates this perfect, low-pressure invitation for them to respond. It does everything we've just talked about, all in 3 little words.
And it's so easy to apply. You see someone with a huge coffee, I bet that coffee has saved your morning. You see someone reading an interesting book, I bet that book choice has a story. It's the perfect, seamless bridge from silence to connection.
And this really gets to the ultimate takeaway here. The entire technique works because it shifts your focus. You stop worrying about your own performance, and you start getting genuinely curious about the person right in front of you. And when that happens, small talk transforms from a chore into an act of discovery.
At the end of the day, you don't need to be a small talk expert. You just need to be someone who makes other people feel seen. So armed with this observation shift and that little phrase, "I bet that," your next conversation doesn't have to be awkward. It can actually be an opportunity. So who will you make feel seen today?